That's right. That's like professional stuff.
I know, right?
He must have Googled that. Is
How
that...
to clap?
Well,
yeah.
You set yourself up for that one.
It's funny.
We went to a restaurant by our house last night a little bit. I actually got a plate of wings, and they were doing a St. Jude fundraiser, which was awesome.
That's great.
Well, they gave out those hand claps. Like, you've seen them that you're like,
yeah.
Well, they handed them out to the whole bar, and they wanted to shoot this video like, we love St. Jude's. Well, when the video's done and the party ends, right? Every kid that's in the bar has got one of them things in their hand. So we were there for probably a half an hour, 40 minutes, and I looked at my wife. I'm like, we got to go. Right. It's just, they're like behind you. They're like everywhere. So
if it wasn't the kids, it was the dads who were kids still.
Oh,
yeah.
And then we got some fun.
Oh.
So like we got Matt Evans here today.
Can you make sure you send me that so I can make sure that's my entrance?
No, that's going to be my new text tone for you.
Every time
you send me a text,
yeah.
I know not to answer.
Oh, yeah, we got some good ones. Yeah.
Oh, that's so good.
Oh, too much fun. All right. That's got to end. Stop. Am I supposed to push it again?
There it is. I think it stopped.
Here we go. Another episode of Ice Team Podcast. I got two good friends of mine. We were having too much fun.
Yeah.
We already ate some lunch here and have told a lot of fun stories. I got Adam and Matt from RLVNT here. We're gonna dive deep into their brains. I apologize in advance, but it's a lot of fun. We were joking a little bit. Me and Drew. Drew couldn't make this one. He's actually on the ice doing some filming. And I said, well, Adam and I will talk to the wall for 2 hours straight, so an hour and 15 shouldn't be a problem. So this is going to be exciting. We're going to get to know these guys a little bit. I'm excited because we're going to dive a little bit into the technology of what RLVNT's done, which I think is so unique. We'll let you guys talk about it. But for starters, I always like to just kind of let our audience know who you guys are, where you're from, a little about you, a little bit of your backstory. Adam, maybe you want to let them know, what makes you tick.
What makes me tick? Well, I'm from central Minnesota. I grew up in Foley, just north of here a little ways. I just was involved in sports, did all that stuff, whatever. Loved fishing growing up, hunting and whatever else. Ended up out of college working for an optical company and spent the last 23 years basically in optics, and traveled around the country, spent some time in Illinois, Iowa, and spent a chunk of that in San Diego, California.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm I think one of 7 people that have ever moved from San Diego back to Minnesota. So I was looking for a tax break, but I never got one.
You like the ice and snow or what?
I love my family.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that was why we did it. I had a company there making eyeglasses, and that's really where I sunk my teeth into business and into, really into the optical world, and sold that company and moved back at that time because my wife and we have 2 awesome kids now, but at the time she was pregnant with our oldest, and it was like, well, this is the time to move.
Yeah.
Right? If we're going to move back, now's the time to do it. And so we did, and it's been great because we went to high school together. So my in-laws are 1,000 yards from us. My parents are 3 miles or so from us, and so we got lots of kid care. Yeah, lots of kid care. Like today, my son has wrestling practice after school. I'm gonna go help with the wrestling practice or whatever. My daughter's getting off the bus. Mom's picking her up, and I don't have to worry about any of that stuff, And so family drew me back, and then. We'll get into the RLVNT bit a little bit, but that all kind of ties back into the RLVNT, a little foreshadowing how we got to, what we do now.
Well, good. I'm glad you came back.
Yeah.
A little colder than San Diego, but just never been there. I assume it's awesome.
It's like, it's great. Like Biggie said, it's a great place to visit, right?
Yeah.
So you should definitely take the family, go out there, go to SeaWorld, check it out, hit the beach. Like, it's awesome, but I don't miss the rat race. I love being outdoors, and I love what I love about Minnesota and the Midwest in general is that you get the seasons, right? So it's like you get to go ice fishing, you get to go open water fishing, you can go hunting, you can go skiing, you can go boating, you can go swimming, like all the stuff, right? So that's one of the things I enjoy about the Midwest.
We're spoiled.
For sure.
And I think we take it for granted.
For sure.
And we've mentioned that before in the show, just with what we have here around us, and we're pretty lucky.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and you hunt and you fish, so it just plays in well. And
you have to embrace it,
Yeah,
for sure.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, Matthew, I got Matt Evans over here. I've gotten to know Matt the last few years. We've had a lot of fun at sports shows.
Oh yeah.
We have a lot of fun, poking at each other and the team and all that kind of stuff. So maybe let our listeners know a little bit about what you got going on and some of the things that make you tick.
Yeah, very similar, background about me. Similar to Adam, as I grew up, born and raised in central Minnesota, right in Sartell. Went to Sartell High School, went to the local college that Adam went to at the Tech and Community College in St. Cloud. Same exact program. That's how him and I actually got connected, was through our instructor, which was, I think, a blessing at the end of the day, even though we like to give it to each other. It's been, it's one of those things you always look back and you're always going to remember. I'm a big outdoor enthusiast. The fishing and hunting community is more recent to me. My grandpa taught me how to fish at a young age, but it was never, a huge passion. My dad and I grew up on sleds and wheelers, so we were big on going up to like the North Shore, doing a lot of snowmobiling. I've been doing that since I was just a little kid. And I think I was 5 or 6 years old. My grandpa got me a little Kit Kat snowmobile that was like the little 120. I went laps and laps in their backyard doing that. And then when I was old enough to get my actual sled license, my dad had 2 sleds already, so we would just continue to ride. I sold power sports for a year after I graduated college, and then I did know Adam at the time. That was during COVID, so we didn't really know what the expectations were, if there was going to be an opportunity to work with you for a job. And February of 21 is when the phone call came in, and I told myself when I started that job at Meese that if he ever called, that I would drop whatever I'm doing to go do this, and I haven't regretted it for a second. It's been a blessing, and it's been a lot of fun. But for things that make me tick now, it's definitely getting out on the ice, getting in the water. Bought a boat last year, so I spent a lot of time in that thing last year.
Good.
I probably put on for working, as much as I do during the week. I think just like 40 hours in 2 or 3 months, because I bought it halfway through the summer. So I was pretty happy with the time I got on it. Yeah, I was in it a lot during the weekends. So hopefully gonna put some more on this year.
You will. I remember when Adam, when they hired you, I remember you were telling me how excited you were about this kid named Matt, and he's going to go places. And it's good to see what you've become, man. You've worked your tail off. And I remember some of your first shows were like any one of us, when we first work a show, it's like, I mean, and you can't see my face, anyone listening, but you're like, it's overwhelming, right? Like, oh my gosh, like I don't want to do something wrong or say something wrong, to now, like, you just kind of control it and own it. And it's been kind of fun. Do you know Mike Rates? Did you know Mike Rates? Obviously, you know Mike Rates now. Yep. He's from Sartell. Did you know him prior to your relationship with Ice Team and stuff? No?
Nope.
No ever crossing paths in Sartell? I
can tell you straight now, any of the anglers that I've known now, prior to getting into this job, had no idea who they were. Yeah. 100%. You could have told me about Jason Mitchell. You could have told me, like, the ones I knew of were like Jason that cut. We're like Guggen Squad. The Guggen Squad guys of like, John B John B, Alex Perry, YouTuber guys, big, because I was big YouTuber, watching YouTubers when I was in high school. So like I knew of those influencers, but Minnesota, it was crazy to understand how big this industry really is until I've gotten to know it, and it's been awesome. But no, Mike Rates, didn't know him until I started this job, and same with Matt Klug, having a guide service up that area. No idea who those guys were until I started this. Yeah.
It's amazing once you get into it. And I just said, because like I don't hear a lot of people from Sartell.
Sure.
Right.
Which is interesting. And then you talked wrestling. I got to give a shout out to Anoka. They just are they going to state.
They did, yeah.
Pretty awesome. And I know Mason Brent.
Yep.
BJ's boy. You guys know BJ. You guys sponsor and work with BJ Brent. Mason, got it done in the weaning hours to take them to state. And
that's awesome.
There was a video I saw on social media that you don't need to like wrestling or love wrestling, even care about wrestling, to not get like emotional when you watch it. Did you see that one?
I did not, but I saw
when he pinned the guy, he finished it, and
I saw that part of it, but I didn't see like the full piece of it.
Yeah.
But I saw that. What's his son's name again?
Mason.
Mason, yeah.
He's a man-child, and he's only 14.
Yeah, there's a cool picture that BJ has of him.
He's like Thor.
He's like a little
huge
guy, and then him now, and it's like, oh my gosh.
He's only 14.
He's huge.
Yeah.
And he's and it was cool because the guy that was filming had his cell phone, and he's filming this, and everything transpired. They win. It's obvious, like the crowd's going crazy. They're high-fiving. Well, Mason has yet to show true emotion because he's a very good sportsman, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then after it's over, he gets up, shakes the kid's hand, and you can see it kicks in, and he's walking back to his team. Full emotion.
Yeah.
Complete pandemonium. The guy's panning around, and people are high-fiving, hugging. I mean, a huge deal, you know, and I thought it was neat because Mason, I've known him for a long time, and he's always been a big kid, much bigger than any other kid in his age. But there was a funny story real quick, and we'll keep moving. We were doing the bass fishing tournament, the Junior Bassers, which Relevant, you know, sponsored and partnered our Junior Basser team in Anoka Ramsey. And we're waiting at Lake Waconia to launch our boats before a tournament. Probably 60 boats, whatever it was, 75 boats. They get huge fields. And Mason was not fishing on his dad's team, BJ. Mason was fishing with another partner and that person's dad. Well, as the director comes down, he noticed me, and I already had launched my boat. He's like, let's move it along. We got to get going. Like, let's move it along. And I'm like, yeah, we're going. And he turns over to Mason. This would have been 2 years ago. So he would have been 12. And goes, are your kids here yet? Can you launch your boat? And Mason's like, I'm competing. And the guy goes, and this was juniors.
Yeah.
3rd to 8th grade. So he would have been like 7th grade, maybe summer of 8th grade. And he's like, the guy looks him up and down and is like, looks at me, and I go, he's like 13, 12. And the guy's like, yeah. So he looks at poor Mason. He's like, can you launch your boat and get your kids going, please? He's like, oh, I'm competing.
Yeah.
I'm a kid. I'm waiting.
Yeah. So
Man,
fun story.
That's
but,
awesome. Isn't that great though? Like I didn't get to see the full video. I'd seen that happened, and I read the story that BJ put down there, and he has a picture of him. Man,
so
it's such a
awesome.
great sport. It's such a great sport. I mean, sports in general.
Yeah.
The kids need to get into it. But
It's like the take from
wrestling's-
the ESPN has that line of like great moments on their commercials. Like,
Yeah.
this is why we love
That's
sports.
what it was.
It's one of those things that it doesn't matter what it is. When you see the emotion of it, those are just amazing to see.
Like that kind of video I could see like being viral on TikTok. Like,
Right.
because it was you nailed it, that
So
great
raw.
moment where like, it's not like it's a team, you know, throwing a ball around
Right.
or it's one dude against one dude.
That's
Right.
Yeah.
Coming down to this,
Yep.
who's cliche stronger,
Right.
literally,
Yeah.
and he outmuscled the guy
Yeah.
That's awesome.
as a freshman
Yeah.
in high school, heavyweight,
Just
going
next,
to state.
next level.
Awesome.
So good.
Cool, man. That's awesome. So yeah, a little backstory on these guys. We're going to jump in a little bit into the Relevant conversation. I'm sure a lot of our listeners know what it is by now. I mean, when Relevant first came around, at least in our wheelhouse, I know Adam and I talked, you know, hey, I got this glasses stuff. And we didn't know each other, right?
No.
It was some very low-level conversation. And we went to Clive's and ate lunch.
We did.
And Adam's like, well, let's have lunch and let me show you the technology. You can get behind it. You don't have to either. I don't care. Just let me show it to you. And I think at the time, I had a personal Costa deal.
You did. Yeah.
I was personally sponsored by Costa for many, many years. And you're just like, no strings attached, just let me talk.
Yep.
We had a great lunch, and you're showing me this stuff and teaching the technology, and my jaw's just dropping. And at first I remember thinking like, dude, this is probably too good to be true. You know, like he's maybe selling me something, right? And then I remember you're like, tell you what, I'm going to get you a pair of glasses. Go use them. You don't need to talk about them. You don't need to promote them. I just want you to tell me what you think. And I remember you gave me a pair of glasses. They were Navigators with chameleon green lenses.
They were. Yep.
They sat on my counter for 2 weeks. As embarrassing as it sounds, they sat on my counter, and I kept wearing my Costa glass lenses, everything I've worn forever. And I remember seeing those, and I think you pinged me, and you're like, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Oh man, I'm a bad person right now. I need to try these glasses out and help my buddy." So I remember going to the cabin, and I said, "You know what? I'm only going to wear these Relevants the whole weekend at the cabin, and then I'm going to hit Adam up on Monday and let him know." It took me a day of wearing those to where I never wore my Costas again. And this is with zero connection to you.
That's right.
There was never a deal on the table. I don't, till this day, have a deal with you guys. And people were always, "Oh, you must be sponsored." I'm not.
Yeah.
I just believe in the technology. That's what helped me become a believer. And that's what really pushed the Relevant thing for me and Ice Team was like, okay, this is different. This is something that the industry hasn't seen. This is cool. This is unique. And at Ice Team, we've always been prideful on blazing our own trail, being on the forefront, being on the cutting edge, like what's cool, what's new, what's different, what can make you better, what can make your experience better. And we gravitated towards it, and the rest was history. We've had so much fun.
Yeah.
But that's my story and how I got involved with Relevant, and kind of how the Relevant ice team partnership kind of happened was honestly, it wasn't like, oh man, Adam's paying us a bunch of money. We got to market and advertise for him. It was the exact opposite. It was true product. Wow. Yeah. We need to be behind this stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember like it was yesterday. I'd actually tell the story quite a bit.
I do too. And it's interesting how, you go through, you just go through life and, whatever. And so like, if you even go deeper into that, and it kind of ties to the earlier question around our background and stuff. So I went to high school with this guy, Jimmy Stevenson, who's on your staff or whatever, as a pro guy. And so I'm back, and he sees that I'm doing this optical thing or whatever just from Facebook, and he's like, hey, I've got whatever day off. You want to go fishing? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And so he's like, all right, I'll meet you at the gas station there and whatever. So we meet at this gas station, and he's going to take me to this private lake, not private lake, but like this lake that he's not going to tell anybody about.
It's Honey Hole.
Yeah, Honey Hole or whatever. And we get there, and I'm like, oh, we're going here? I know this. Like, let's
Lake
go.
Minnetonka.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't like that. It was up by where we live, and I won't say the name.
What was the name of the lake?
I won't say the name of the
Briggs.
lake, but yeah. Because Matthew's here, and I don't want him to, tear it apart.
Okay.
Yeah. No, but it was really funny. That was.
Major
but anyways,
threat.
I'm there with Jimmy, and I'm like, hey, this is what this does. This is what it's all about. And he just was. It was like two friends just connecting and whatever. Kind of centered on that a little bit and whatever. And he's like, understanding the technology, just going, oh my gosh, I need to connect you with Matt Johnson.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that'd be awesome. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. And then of course he connects us, and you told the other part of the story, but it's kind of cool, like how full circle, you go to high school and you just like, you just be friends with everybody, and you just be kind to everybody. I mean, Jimmy and I weren't like really close buddies, but we were friends, or whatever. And it was just like, now here we are 23 years later, doing the thing. And so I always like to give Jimmy a shout out, because without Jimmy, probably none of it.
I was just going to say that. There's one person that if we can give a shout out to,
Yeah.
it's that
James.
dude.
Yeah.
Jim is just one of those dudes that you can never forget about.
Yeah.
James and Maria.
Yep.
Wonderful people. And
Amazing.
you're right,
Yep.
because I do remember the initial conversation was an email. Actually, I think it was a phone call from James. He called me. He's like, hey, dude, do you have any partnership with a glasses company at Ice Team? We're like, not really, and he's like, well, I got a buddy, yada, 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 right? We all know how it goes from there. But I remember. And James is wonderful. We use James and Maria frequently at events and shows. They're so good with people. They're just salt of the earth human beings. Always smiling, half glass full. And I try to surround myself with that. I know both of you do too. It's always important to, any listeners, you want to surround yourself with positive people. Like, I don't want to be around people that aren't positive.
Yeah.
Right.
And James and Maria, they got it going on.
100%.
And they can catch fish. And they're good at catching fish. So it's, pretty fun. So the Relevant thing, we got a partnership with these guys, got to really dive into it. We've expanded that with more people at our company. Yeah. Whether it's through a bass tournament, Blackfish Classic, whatever else, we've really forged, I think, a really fun relationship. And not to get too long-winded on that, but we've got to help you play with different frames and look at this and look at that. And we laughed a lot, goofed off. I mean, men wearing women's frames, whatever, just kind of poking fun. And what was the one that Adam really wanted? Pit Viper wanted.
At Blaine Hardwater Expo. You remember that? I remember that.
I'm sure there's probably some footage that Drew will probably, throw it.
That was another Jimmy moment there that we have to thank.
The look on Adam's face. So long story short, Adam does not like Pit Vipers. Very popular type of sunglasses. Don't get me wrong. I see them all over. I'm with Adam.
Yeah.
You won't catch me putting them on my face.
Yeah.
I get it though, right?
It's coming back.
Kind of like flat billed hats and
For
whatever
sure,
else. Man buns, like not going to happen, but I get it.
Yep.
So we're at the Blaine Ice Fishing Show, the Hardwater Ice Expo, and James Stevenson got a bug up his butt to go, let's play a trick on Adam. So he actually put Relevant little stickers on the side of a bunch of Pit Vipers, and a bunch of us put them on. And I'm standing in the Ice Team booth during the show. This is like live show.
Yep.
Matt had a pair on. I had a pair on. Jim had a pair on. I think there was others too involved.
Scott Merwin was
Scott Merwin had them on.
Merwin's involved. Yeah.
And Adam comes around the corner like, oh, let's go say hi to Johnson. Like he comes walking by and someone killed his cat. Like he looks at me, he's like, what the heck? At first he's like, why are you wearing Pit Vipers? Then he looks on the side and he's like, dude, they say Relevant on them. And then he looks over at 4 other people wearing them. He's like, this is not the look I
was
want.
not the best version of myself at that point.
I'll never forget what you said to me. It was wonderful. I don't know if I want to repeat it on the mic, but it was great.
That was fun.
It was good.
It was fun, and that's just it though. That's like the relationship, right? It's centered around being really serious about what we do, but not taking ourselves very serious,
Right.
and being able to have fun along the way. And I think that's a really important balance, really in life and in business. It's like, how
Sure.
can we take what we do really seriously? Like,
Right.
let's go out and do what we do extremely well. But while we're doing that, let's have some fun.
Yes.
Right.
Can we have some fun? Can we surround ourselves with people that we can have fun with?
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that we were able to do immediately, with this relationship, I felt like. And
Yeah. People that are passionate, want to have fun,
Yeah.
but take it serious. Yeah, I think that it's same thing with here. Like, we want people that work inside these walls that are passionate about fishing.
Right.
Yeah.
That it's not just a job. Like, we can. It sounds cliche, but jobs are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
People that can find a new job anywhere, right?
Yeah.
Right.
But to be passionate about what you do and love what you do, it shines through. And I think that's the success of Relevant. That's the success of Clam.
Yep.
That's the success of Vexlar, right? Some of our partners, you're like, it's clear and obvious when you hang out with some of the employees and people behind those brands, you go, they love this.
Yeah.
They're
Right.
passionate. This isn't just a job.
That's right.
They don't hang their hat up on their peg when the clock says 5.
Yep.
They go home and they continue
Right.
to think. And I think that's important. I think we should jump a little bit into the technology.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
I can explain it, but not near as well as you guys. I think our listeners might want to know, okay, what is the differentiator between Relevant? Because that's probably the first question I always get is why Relevant? So maybe you guys want to jump in a little bit about that. Take a few minutes, whatever it takes to let our listeners know the Relevant story.
Well, I think there's a couple pieces to it. We'll go into the technology, but then we can talk the other side of this. But so the technology is second to none. I mean, there's nothing out there like it. And what we did was we took technologies that exist in vacuums or in their own lane and married them together, right? So you have polarization. So I'm sure the viewers are familiar with polarization, being able to see in the water, being able to eliminate reflective light so that you can, like I say, see in the water or just get rid of glare so it's more comfortable in general, exists. And it's out there, and it's been a great technology for a lot of years. And then there's a technology called photochronicity, or the ability for a lens to lighten and darken based on the amount of photo light, right? So it's activated by ultraviolet, and it'll lighten and darken and whatever else. And then there are other pieces to this as well, like the material itself that we use and such. We get a little bit more granular about it. But the two workhorses are these two technologies, and they've always operated independent. And we thought, well, if we could marry these together in a way where someone could get the benefit of polarization and the lens would lighten and darken, now you have a real outdoor product, right? Because we know, and Blackfish says this, I think, best as anybody, you can't predict the weather. I think if I have it right.
Yeah, can't choose the weather.
You can't choose the weather. And you can't choose the weather, of course.
Same thing.
Yeah, sort of. They can't predict the weather now either, but it's actually Channel 11. So.
Talk about loving your job.
Yeah,
Exactly,
right, exactly.
right.
So, but you can't choose the weather, right? And so it's never perfect. And so, being able to have something that would lighten and darken and give you that polarization at the same time is pretty neat. And then there was there's a whole host of other things, like being able to our understanding of color and light and how it affects the way we see, and how we can, in the most purest way, manipulate the visual experience based on how we reflect light in an effort to allow different light through, gets to the next level. And then being able to marry that all in with a lens material called Trivex that allows for you to have the same basic Abbey value or optical clarity as glass, or even better, as your eye. Your eye has a particular Abbey value. It's called our ability to see optical clarity. And when you put a lens in front of your eye, you denigrate that some. And so, but with Trivex, it's the same. So you don't have any denigration of your optical clarity. And so you marry these 4 or so different things together, and you just get this. Well, I mean, if you were to strip it down to one word, that word that I hear the most is just wow. And I know, again, back to that cliche, it is cliche, oh, you know, game changer and all this nonsense, but the word that I hear the most is just wow.
Yep.
When people put it on. And it's because of the combination of all of those things working together to give people the best visual experience. And if anybody's done anything, you know that it's way more fun if you can see it better. If you can experience the thing better when you can see it clear, and you can spend more time on the water because your eyes aren't tired, or you can spend more time on the water because you have the ability to see in the water earlier in the day, later in the day, things like this. It just enhances the experience.
And the colors. Like the first thing I noticed when I put those on is how green the weeds were. And it's not just like, if anyone's worn polarized sunglasses, a lot of our listeners have, I'm sure, right?
Sure.
And they may not all own relevance, you know.
No.
That's okay.
Yep.
You know, they will. They should.
They should.
But, you know, polarization, like you always find yourself at different angles of whether where you're standing in relation to the sun or different light penetration levels, seeing things better, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing I noticed right away with the chameleon lenses is that didn't necessarily matter.
Yeah.
You know, I noticed that I could still see some of these things better no matter the conditions. Where in the past, I was always finding myself maybe changing lenses or frames or glasses. I'd have 3-4 different pairs with me in the boat, depending on the day, where I feel confident, where I can kind of have the best of both worlds. And I was so intrigued. I was like, and I did. I brought other glasses with me and would do the whole switcheroo. Like, how's it look? Oh, man, it's just, this looks so much nicer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so much cleaner. And then you nail it too. I mean, fatigue on your eyes and your face.
Yep.
The weight on your ears, on your nose, on how your eyes are tired. I find myself not taking my glasses off now when I probably should.
Sure.
You know, you hop back in your truck, you walk into a restaurant, you're like, oh man, I got my sunglasses on.
Right.
And we'll get into the hard water bronze, but I wear those all the time on the ice to the point where I rely on them now, not just because of sun protection, but because of comfort.
Right.
And we'll jump into that too. But no, the technology behind this
I'm laughing
is
because
insane.
what you said, it was so funny. Like it would have been last summer, my dad and I were fishing on a lake about an hour north of where we're from. And we're driving home. It's dark, pitch dark. I look over. We're like 45 minutes into the drive, and he has his relevance on still. And they're like, dude, what are you wearing your glass? He's totally forgot he had him on. He drove almost all the way home in the dark with him on.
Yeah.
I don't suggest doing that, but you just forget because they are so comfortable and so light, and the optics are good and whatever. But
yeah, and I've thought many times where it's like, oh man, it's kind of getting dark out, you know, or whatever. Well, it is, but I have my sunglasses on still.
Right. Yeah.
You know, then you realize, oh, it's not that dark yet.
Yeah.
You know, so technology is second to none. You really nailed it. It's very impressive. And
Thank you.
And you know, it kind of opened my eyes, no pun intended, to what I was missing.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I'll admit, like I alluded to 20 minutes ago in this conversation, I was a skeptic.
Yeah.
And I realized real quick, like, there's so much more with this that you can see.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos.
Thank you. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, again, back full circle to like the earlier question on the background, you know, and being able to take what you spent professionally, you know, 23 years or whatever, 20 years at that time as we were building this out, and working with Norm, you know, one of the founders with me, is just a genius. The guy is just unbelievable. He's like this mad scientist back there, and, you know, being able to take what we know, apply it to what we love to do, and then, you know what you have. And so you talk about the technology, and I think that's all great. And then it's like, well, the other pillar that I, you know, will teach and work with the team on is the community. So if you can have the greatest product, but nobody knows about it, who cares?
Sure.
Right.
You know what I mean? Or you could have all the connection to the community, but if you don't have a product that actually is going to, you know, be amazing, you just have like this like flair, this marketing flair. And so we work really hard to make sure that it's filtered through those lenses, that it's actually more important to us that the community is connected to the product, because we believe that if we can connect the community to the product, then we have something, because we know that we're going to make the product that's going to help perform and help them enjoy the outdoors more. Early days, we were able to do that ourselves, right?
Right.
I'm an avid hunter, I love fishing. I was like, well, this is like right in my wheelhouse. Who's the target audience? Like, I always give the gang a hard time, because like I purposely don't run the social media feed anymore, because I'm the target audience.
Yeah.
If I don't see what's going on, then we're doing it wrong.
Yep.
Right. And so it's kind of circled that way. But well, as we evolve and as we get, more mature and whatever else, it's like, I don't know all the community thing that yet. So we circle back into that, and you can see Hardwater Bronze, I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit, was a perfect example of how you take what you build it to what you love to do, but you connect that community and you let that community help drive your direction forward and the decision making forward, because you get that emotion that's attached to it, and it's just magic.
Right.
It's just magic.
And it's funny because you mentioned the community. When you guys were pushing Relevant hard the last few years, right, getting into the marketplace, because you had to build a name.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like 3 years ago,
Yep.
whatever, no one knew what Relevant was.
Yep.
But I thought it was so funny because you did such a good job in the community that I had people that had come up to me, not even referencing sunglasses, but just going, what is with this Relevant? What is it? Because you did such a good job putting the brand in so many people's faces. Like it was, if you were on social media and you liked to fish even a little bit, and you did not see the word Relevant come across your feed, you weren't scrolling.
No, that's right.
And it's funny because a lot of my clients didn't even know it was a sunglass company. They just wanted to know what it is. What is it?
Sure.
What is going on? And then I remember like on Minnesota Bass Heads, for example, very popular Facebook page, right?
Yep.
And somebody would ask, like, I'm looking for a pair of sunglasses. And the typical response you would expect from a hardcore bass-driven community would be Costa, Smith, Typhoon, like all the brands you hear, right? Wiley X, Oakley.
Yep.
It was predominant Relevant. And I remember seeing it stuck in my mind. This was probably 2 summers ago. It stuck in my mind because the guy asking the question came back on after 27 replies, 20 of which were relevant, and goes, like, pardon my French, what the hell is Relevant? What is this? Yeah. And I'm pretty positive. I remember, don't quote me, but I'm 99% sure he bought a pair of Relevants.
He did, and I remember that story because I remember getting a screenshot from you, and then I'm like, okay, it's kind of watching this thing happen, and then what was cool about it, and back to that community thing, and we stressed the hell out of this thing. Back to the French, I guess.
No, you're fine.
But you see, you prefaced it before. I just let it rip, and then I
teed it off.
came on the backside. We're there.
Matt's gonna go unglued here.
Yeah, he's coming unglued. Get Addy, get him out of here before he starts to lose it. No,
I'm appalled.
Now. Who else answered those questions? Well, I did. You know what I mean? In this particular example, Matthew now does. Oftentimes, or others. From the group, and so we're there to help guide that thing forward. And that journey, that social journey, was a really interesting one for me, because when we first started, no one knew it, and there would be like 6 people, and they'd be like Relevant, and then it'd be like whatever, all the stuff, which is fine. And then it's like the next year. It was always during like the spring.
Yeah.
When people are getting into the open water, starting to think about bass fishing, they're starting to think about getting on their boat. It happens every year. What are the best polarized glasses? And and then last year was where it was like this tipping point where it was just down in there.
Where I think that is, and I think it comes down to what we just talked about a little bit ago, was passion, and I think people are quick to name drop Nike, Adidas, right? Because they're popular brands. Yep. They're world juggernauts. The marketing dollars behind them is insane. They feel like it's the cool thing to do.
Right.
And I think to some regard, that might be why the Costa comment comes out quick, right? Or something like that.
Yeah.
Where the guys or gals that mention Relevant, I bet you they own them.
Yeah.
I bet you it's changed the way they
Well,
fish.
so here's what's cool
It's
about
passionate.
it is it's never, well, not never, rarely, especially early. Eventually, as the thread goes on, people will just be like, oh, Relevant again. It's like, whatever. But what's really cool about it is it's not that. They won't just say Relevant. They'll say, I own a pair. This is what I have. This is my experience. My wife has one or whatever. So there's the story, right? And we know how we are attracted to the story, right? And so like, it's one thing for it to be called out on the thread. It's another thing for people to call it out and explain why they love it, why they own it or whatever. And you just sit back and just watch it kind of happen. And yeah, it's pretty special. But you know, those things don't happen without relationships. You know,
Well,
and you
I mean,
taking a stab on it, and others
Right.
doing the same thing. So
I mean, I'd want to know if I ask a question, hey, I want to, what truck should I get? And Matt's like, Ford.
yeah, why?
I'm like,
Any reason why?
and then
yeah,
that's from Dude Was My Car. You seen that movie?
yeah,
And then,
yeah, and then
okay, sorry,
that's
I
good.
digress. But it's nice to see the response, and that's conviction, that's passion, that's somebody that's like, I'm going to give you this response because I truly mean it. I care. It's not a canned response. So that always intrigued me. And I remember that one topic very well, where the guy was just like almost upset.
Yeah.
Like, what is
Yeah,
what is this? Like, how did I not know about
did I
this?
not
Yeah, he
know?
was
Yeah.
like, because it was one of the regulars that had a very good
Yep.
following, and
Yep.
was like,
Yep.
he was just blown away that it wasn't going to be your typical 5 same brand response, and then
Right.
let's
Yeah,
let's
I
play Miller, you know,
Yep.
Ford versus Chevy.
yeah,
It was just relevant. He's like,
Yeah.
wow, you know, and I love that success story. We use that story well at Blackfish too, where I get friends that come up to me and they're like, oh, you're just saying that because you work for them. And
sure,
a little bit. That's part of my job. But no, honestly, the big reason I say it is because I believe in the brand. Because you guys know me well enough, and even the guys and gals that work with me at Clam know if I don't like something here, I'm not talking about it, I'm not going to use it.
Right.
But what I've always said, and I think this is a similar story to Relevant, is if and when you use the product, if you throw on that Blackfish sun shirt on that 90-degree day after wearing every other polyester sun shirt in the market when ours is not, you go, wow.
yeah,
It's the wow
It's
factor.
that word. You go, wow. And that's how I always know if I get somebody super interested in Blackfish and I want them to be a believer, it's usually, hey, here, try this shirt. It's going to be 90 on Monday. Throw it on.
Yeah.
You know, I understand you got all the other brands in your closet and you think we're just another Me Too. Well, try it on.
Yeah.
The proof is in the pudding, right? So we've always worn that heavily on our sleeve too. And it's always been a good story to tell. It's and you know, Adam, you've done a great job, and so has Matt, where you've never been pushy.
yeah,
You've entered the industry without being pushy. And I've even heard you tell people like, oh, do you have a pair of glasses? And they're like, yeah, I just bought a pair this year. And you'd even say like, well, then that's fine. Don't buy another pair.
yeah. When you're ready,
But when you're ready,
Yep.
you know, think of us.
yeah,
You know, if you just bought a brand new pair of $250 glasses, brand X, Y, or Z, you're probably not in the market for another pair of sunglasses.
Right.
I know I wouldn't be.
Right.
You know,
and that's
yeah.
okay. And I think that's such a pure form where so many brands in the industry, not just sunglasses, just in general, it's no, buy mine, buy it now. You need it. That one's not good. Buy this. I've never heard the Relevant team in my years ever put someone down. You've always put people up. And I think, again, that goes back to the community of success. You know, people want to be surrounded by good people.
Well, I think that, you know, the mistake that people can make is that they focus too much on that competitiveness or what. I don't even know what it is. It's a mistake though. For me, it's like, what can I learn from these things? So like, I mean, I've made no bones about it, or whatever the right phrase is. Costa, I've like learned. So I used to do Costa's RX program. I helped build their RX program back in 2009 or so, and Wiley X and Rudy Project and these others. But it's like, we're starting to do this Relevant thing. And it's like, well, okay, let me go back and look at the playbook that Costa had. And, you know, early days in its purest form, it's about community.
Yeah.
It's about solving problems for people. In their case, it was saltwater, right? It was like, how do we then get this to the masses? Like, you know, it was, of course, they didn't have online in the 80s, but it was like, okay, we get into the retailer. So like, all right, how can I learn from Ray? You know, and how can we take that into what we're doing today? And I think the minute you start to think, oh, you have all the answers, you start to lose, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, what can I learn from those things? And then listening to those things, it helped us create programs that helped even more, like our reload program. So people would say, well, you know, because you start out, you only have a handful of frames, you know, that fit. But you know what? Our visual solution can go in the frame. So
Yeah.
when you're ready, I'll put them in Costas. I'll
Yeah.
put them in. I mean, there are a lot of people, I can tell you, running around with Oakley, Costa, Ray-Ban, Wiley X frames that fit them really well. We haven't solved that yet as we start to grow through, and we're starting to, and the frames are amazing now. I'm talking early days. But it's about solving people's,
Yeah.
you know, experience. How can you help them, right? And when you serve in that way, boy, it's amazing how it reciprocates itself
Yeah.
tenfold, you know.
That's what we do every
so
day.
spot on.
Yeah.
So spot on. You know, and I know Matt's been super busy doing shows and stuff, running all over the place, talking to people. You know, you guys always have a buzz in the booth. You're always getting people excited. You got the I always call it actually is though. It's a nail cure, right?
Oh, the little nail dryer. Yeah,
so that is
little
to
UV
show
lamp.
the UV lamp and things like that. But I think what sets you guys apart at the shows is the discussion of the technology. What makes us different, and it is easier to in any aspect when you're face to face with somebody, right?
Sure.
Like versus like on the internet or this or that or on this ad that's static versus like I have you in front of me.
Yep.
You know, but it's always been fun to see people get excited about it, you know, and with our relationship, we get people that come into the ice team booth and say, where's the relevant booth?
Yeah.
You know, and we've even put some of your glasses in our booth, right? And we try our best to tell the story, but we can only do it so far. And then Matt and your team are always just crushing it. You know, and I think it's just so fun to see people excited about it. And they have their shades on the top of their hat when they walk into the show.
Yeah.
You know, where they're proud to have the sunglasses. And I think this leads us probably into our next conversation that I really am excited to talk about. It's created that place in the ice fishing world, right? You've done so well at these ice fishing shows. And I think you found one of your many niches, right? We've already talked about some of them, the technology, what separates you. But the ice fishing world, you mentioned it, you're trying to solve problems, right? The ice fishing world, in the worst way, needed a problem solved, and that came in the form of sunglasses. Yeah. They truly did. And we've talked about this even at length. Everyone thinks that when you get on the ice, you don't need sunglasses. Well, I'm not in the boat. It's not sunny. I'll tell you what, after I'll fully admit, raising my hand here for anyone that's watching, I didn't wear a lot of sunglasses on the ice prior to the hard water bronze. I didn't. And this was 17 years with another glasses brand. They pretty much sat in my boat or in my truck. Yeah. Now you can't find me without them. And I think what that's taught me is your eyes are susceptible to damage, abuse, strain, discomfort, safety from hooks. We talked about that.
Yep.
On the ice as much as they are open water. You are working in what I learned from you guys as a listener, and you've educated me, the light spectrums we live in on the ice. White snow, white ice, glare from all directions. It is just as detrimental to your eyes as in the boat. And I think that blows my mind that I didn't understand that. And now that I do, that people still don't fully grasp how important your eyes are, not just when you're in the boat, that everything going on can have the same effect. And that's where hard water bronze came to fruition.
Yeah, and it's actually, from an intensity perspective, it's worse when it's glaring off of the snow or the ice. And so it's even more important. You know, I always get a kick out of it in a tongue-in-cheek way, like people don't put sunscreen on when they're ice fishing. It's like, oh my gosh, you're going to fry if you don't. In some of these days that we got, you know, these bluebird days or whatever, but yeah, it's 20 below. You're going to burn right now if you don't, you know. So
it's going to hurt.
Yeah, it's going to hurt. But yeah, no, that's exactly right. And what was cool about the hard water experience is to that problem solving, you know, space, we, you know, recognized pretty quickly that there's a void, there's a problem. And honestly, as somebody who's made glasses for 20 plus years, I didn't even really recognize it until you're in the middle of it and you're like, man, this is something. So what do? Typical relevant fashion. Talk to our ice fishing community. All right, what are the list of things that you want to solve and how do you want to solve those things? And so, okay, it makes sense. Okay, white. All right, this is going to be complicated, you know. And so went up to Finlayson, where we headquarter out of, and met with Norm. And we should have captured this a little better. You don't really sometimes realize the things that are going on in the moment. But we had a whiteboard. And we laid out the visual spectrum from, you know, red to indigo violet or whatever across the visual spectrum, and then into UV beyond that, and IR on the other side. And we're like, all right, here's where white manifests itself. All of it. That's how you see white. From red, everything's reflecting away. So how do we figure out a product that can attenuate or reduce that intensity of that color? And, you know, whatever. So we get into it and we make this product. And I remember being at Blaine. We mentioned Blaine Hardwater earlier, but this was a different, the show prior. And I was like, we got it. This is it right here, Matt and team. And we laid it out, and we had 2 different colors that we could play with a little bit. And maybe actually there might have been 3. And we're like, all right, which one of these, do you, I don't care about the color. I care about visual experience. And your team would go out and they were outside, and I don't think they were doing their job really well for you guys at that point. So
it happens.
Sorry about that.
Okay.
We commandeered them. And so they're running around outside and whatever. And they come back and they would tell me the number. And I wouldn't tell anybody's results. I just kept it, quiet, because I didn't want one thing to jade another. And unanimously, what is now Hardwater Bronze was the winner. I mean, it was everybody picked that one. Okay, well, we hit it. And so we get it. We how the heck did that go? That was in November, right?
Yep.
And so that was November, and then we launched it in January. It was the fastest selling product. And now, mind you, freshwater green is the number 1 seller, right? This freshwater green product we have is unbelievable, and because especially down here in the cities, clear waters, bass fishing communities, it just slays. Hardwater Bronze sold as much in February as freshwater green did the summer prior.
Yeah.
And these are big numbers, right? And so it's because you connect to the community, you solve their problems. And they go, oh, but I also want to see my screen better. Well, let's see how we can solve that. So we start to tweak things around, and now you can actually see your electronics, at the same time. And so, yeah, I'm really proud of that product.
Go ahead, Matt.
It's truly the community-based solution that we really say is if you want to know what our solution is based off the community, Hardwater Bronze.
Yeah.
Truly is.
I remember those days because the lens you gave us to look at were a little bigger.
And they were rectangle.
Yeah, and you had a little number on them.
It did, yep.
And I remember when I first wore the Hardwater Bronze, you're like, here you go. Let us know what you think. And I hate using this term. I hate it. And you already mentioned it, game changer. I just think it's... Yeah. I don't know. It's too cliche, but it truly was. And the reason I say that is in the world of ice fishing, we've never experienced what you brought to the industry.
Yeah.
We didn't. We never truly, to this day, I still think there's only one set of true ice fishing sunglasses that exists, and it's the Hardwater, or lenses.
Yep.
And it's the Hardwater Bronze.
Yep.
If you, and I think the reason it excels the way it does, technology aside, is that you look at all these anglers out there that really invest in the sport now. I mean, they're buying $3,000 forward-facing sonars with money they don't have.
Yeah.
Right? I'll eat ramen for the next month, but I'll have my, all the mortgage can wait.
That's right.
But I'm going to have forward-facing sonar. But so they're fine investing it. I think they've learned, because the conversations I've had on the Hardwater Bronze, especially at shows, when you got the true ice fishing diehard enthusiasts right at these shows, ice fishing shows, they're like, that's an ice fishing pair of sunglasses? Why? Right? Well, then you walk them through what you just explained, and you're like, this is truly I don't care what you have at your house. Mm-hmm. You're not going to tell me that you have something at your house that is better for you in this sport of ice fishing than go for it. Start. Yeah. I'm not going to listen to it. Yeah. I know for a fact I'm right? And it's not an ego thing. It's just, this is truly the ice fishing pair of sunglasses. And you mentioned how, I think you said your dad has glasses on for 40 minutes.
You did. Yeah.
I do that all the time. We were at Pokegama earlier in February that was back in end of January for our second UPL event, which you guys partnered, by the way. Yeah. Thank you so much. Mm-hmm. And I had my Hardwater Bronze inside the floppy crappie for 20 minutes while we're eating until my 9-year-old son, Brody's like, Dad, take your sunglasses off. And I'm like, and then you take them off and you're like,
it's weird.
They're so comfortable to wear. Wear my shades in the summer, even my chameleons. Yeah. Like when I walk into Lord Fletcher's on Tonka on a corporate guide trip, I pull them off. Yeah. It's second nature. Well, I'd find myself with the Hardwater Bronze because you're outside in that bright spectrum all the time, that your eyes acclimate, they get comfortable, you crave it. Yeah. And then you realize as an added cherry on the top, I'm taking care of myself. Yeah. Right. And we talked earlier eating lunch, which I think is an angle that a lot of our listeners maybe don't consider. Brian Lindbergh kind of pointed this out, a part of our marketing team. The importance, especially fishing, eye protection. Yeah. Not from the sun, not from the glare, from lures.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
From weights, from jigs. If you haven't had a Pinhead Pro come back at you when it comes unbuttoned on a crappie at the hole, And I made this comment earlier, like it's not about dodging, it's about reflex. You don't have quick enough reflexes. You just get lucky
Yep.
on where it hits. And I've had them ping off my glasses. So it's one thing. This is my very short PR safety tip is sunglasses in the wintertime. It takes one hook to the eye.
Yeah.
Yep.
One little tungsten jig that comes unbuttoned at the hole. And I'm telling you, it's not my intention to be sales pitchy on it, but I'm just saying, like, my kids wear glasses on the ice. They wear glasses in the boat because I don't want them losing an eye. It can happen. I'm not scaring anybody. Your chances are slim. I get it, but that's another avenue I think we sometimes don't take into account. But yeah, the hard water bronze guys, you crushed it.
Yeah,
Wow.
thanks. It's like I said, I'm really proud of that, and it just there's so many neat parts to that story, and without one of them, working, you don't have what is the special product that is hard water bronze. And some of that is actually just pure luck. I mean, Jim Collins wrote the book Good to Great, and he talks about lots of different things on why one organization's good, while exactly the same type of organization doesn't quite makes it great, right? And some of that is just luck. And so I'll share with you, when we were doing this and we're laying it out, and we're like, okay, we're dealing with white, which is somehow we have to figure out how we can impact the visual experience with everything reflecting at you. And so, okay, we'll figure out how we can do this mathematically, but what is this going to look like? We had no idea what the aesthetics of it was going to be. So we go and make the product, and it comes out, and him and I look at each other and go, holy, this is like, on top of all the cool science, this is pretty sexy too.
Yeah.
And so that was just luck. It wasn't luck. I mean, in a sense, it's science and it's whatever, but we weren't exactly sure, is this thing going to come out pink? Is it going to come out,
Bronze.
purple? But it came out just freaking awesome bronze. And so it was like, well, what should we name it? Hard water bronze.
Yeah.
We're going to make this super
No,
easy.
we didn't name it.
The
community.
That's what I mean
named
when
it.
I say we, the community.
Yeah.
You just, it was like, that's the thing. It was very simple and not overcomplicated. And so part of that was just kind of dumb luck, along the way.
You really don't see it until you go out on an extremely bright day too.
Right.
And you go out with them on, and you fish for 2 or 3 hours, and then you take them off for 2 seconds. You can't even look. Yeah. I went fishing early this year and went through that experience where it was a super bright day. I took them off, and I couldn't even open my eyes. I put the glasses back. I'm like, I can't see. I actually can't see without these on.
And seeing your electronics.
Oh, yeah.
So
the
many
other piece of
Polaroid
it.
glasses are tough to see electronics during certain light conditions. Never had an issue with hard water bronze.
Well, it's the same in your vehicle.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can stare at your truck screen. You can look through the windows, and you're not going to get those weird ripples or anything too.
Yeah. It is super cool.
It's different.
So what's cool too is that as you start to go down a path and you realize you kind of hit on a thing, it's like, well, now how do you continue to learn? How do you continue to try to evolve? And so I can't share an enormous amount, but there's some evolution happening in that space, right? And so we're looking and prototyping out some solutions that will only make it even better and provide even more options for the customer, and their visual experience. And so there's going to be some next fall coming out like a hard water alternative. There'll be a second hard water product, and it'll.
Can you see through the ice with them?
Yeah, you can see. You don't need forwards. You don't need forward facing sonar anymore.
It's actually going to read it for you. You don't need to worry about any of it.
Exactly. Yeah,
Sweet.
right. So I'm really excited about that. And then we all know that fogging up is a major problem. And so I may just actually have a pair here that I've been wearing for a while that are anti-fog product as well. And so we're playing around with that stuff and we're beyond playing around. I mean, it's in that space where it's, use case, prototyping. And so we're really excited about being able to bring some of that kind of stuff to the market. And of course, goggles has been dropped. And so you start to, I remember the goggle. The only reason this thing is even here, is it listeners or viewers? I suppose it could be both.
All the
right?
same.
All the same,
We
right?
call them whatever we want.
Yeah.
They're our friends.
If they're still here.
Yeah.
No, the goggle thing, I was watching a UPL, and it was a couple years ago, It was 21, 22 below zero temperature that day. And I'm watching, you know, the teams come in and weigh in or whatever. I was watching it on online because I don't remember what I had going on that day. I wasn't able to make it down, but it doesn't matter. And I'm watching them come in to weigh in, and all I see is goggles. I see all the fishermen wearing goggles. I'm like, what the flip?
Yeah.
They're wearing goggles? And I was like, ding, light bulb goes off. I'm like, we need to come up with a goggle solution so we're going down that journey, and it's been a really kicking journey to go down, and trying to solve that same kinds of thing with goggles as well.
Well, it's more of a comfort thing on goggles as well. Like,
Sure.
you know, they're coming in off their machines. It's blocking the wind from their face. It's keeping them comfortable.
Yeah.
It's you know, frostbite. We get a lot of guys and gals in the UPL that can get frostbite on their face, even on the ride out to their spot in the morning when it's 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Especially on those conditions
Sure.
where, I mean, we don't cancel event because it's too cold. It's not like school.
Yeah.
It's 21 below zero. The show must go on.
I'll never forget it. It's like
crazy.
ingrained in my head. I can see Waldo actually walking in with goggles, and I was like, what the flip is he doing with goggles on? And sure enough, that was a thing. And
Safety,
I picked his brain
comfort.
a little bit about it. It was safety, it was comfort, it was all this stuff. And I'm like, gosh, that makes total sense.
I have a couple open water anglers that are wanting to rep them for tournament fishing on the open water this year, because when you're going across the lake, you know, early morning, or if it's you know, you're in a climate that there's a lot of bugs, take bugs to the face. I mean,
Yum. Kind of like, what is it, Dumb and Dumber, when he's got them all, he smiles and they're all over his face. Good protein intake.
Well, it's like wild hogs too when they're on the bikes.
Yeah, wild hogs another one.
They're getting all the bugs on their face, laughing at each other, and one takes a bird to the face. Oh yeah, that's what the goggles will do.
One thing I love about Relevant, and you just kind of hit it on the head, and it's been a little bit of a theme on the community side, is you listen so well to what the people want. And I think there's so much to be said about that. It's not only you listen to what they want, but you pay attention to what they want. Like Adam's saying, like, I watched this fishing league in central Minnesota, right? Is as lame as it is on social media, right? Well, wow, they're all wearing goggles. Like, well, we should do that. Like, we should make something better for them to make their experience on the ice more enjoyable. So you're always looking at ways to make it better. I mean, even like you said, the filaments or whatever the word is, I'm not expert on this, to not fog.
Yeah.
Like, every angler will tell you, especially in the winter time, when they're wearing a stocking cap and the heat's absorbed, that cut a bunch of holes, your glasses fog up. Yeah. It's not an issue with the product. Yeah. It's just how it works. It's science, right? Like, it's steam, it's this, it's that, it's temperature change. Like, you're going to fog glass. Yeah. You turn the defroster off in my $60,000 pickup truck on the way to work today, my windows are going to fog.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean it's a bad truck, right? Yeah. But just that you're trying to find solutions to make everyone's experience better. I think it's such a powerful theme behind the Relevant brand.
Yeah,
in my opinion,
that. I mean, it's
such a powerful theme.
It's something. It's nice to hear because we really work hard at it. Really work hard at it, and it's not easy because it's like, oh, the shiny ball. You want to go after, that, and you realize really quickly, well, that's all that is. There's no substance behind it. Well, then you got to stop. We got to focus over here. Yep. Well, this is hard. I know it's hard.
Vipers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, that's a good example. We could have gone out, and I pick on pit vipers, but congratulations to them because they're crushing it. You know what I mean? And so
the youth are loving them.
Yeah, and so it's all good. Like I just pick on it, but for us, I've had numerous giant retailers say, if you could come out with a pit viper, type of product, we would buy a bunch of them. Like, you already have that.
Right.
Blenders make something, Pit Vipers does a thing. Like, let that just be that thing. This is what we do, and it can be hard. Everybody thinks the right decision is the easy decision. Yeah. Very, very seldom. The right decision is almost always the hardest decision.
And I always get sad when I reference Pit Vipers with kids nowadays, because does no one know who Randy Macho Man Savage is anymore? Right. Are you kidding me? Do you know who that is?
Yeah, I do know.
Like,
who he is,
like my kids, Jack's 14, his buddies all wear Pit. Jack won't wear him. He wears Relevance. He's smart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, look at Randy Macho Man Savage. They're like, huh? I'm like, oh, what?
Yep.
Yeah. Step into Slim Jim.
That's
like,
it.
Come on.
Come on. Yeah.
Just like childhood, but
they have a place, whatever.
It should be a requirement that they have to know who that is if you're going to wear Pit Vipers. It should just be their, like, when you log onto their website, that's your first face you see.
Or you get them slapped off your head. Like, that's what Randy Macho Man Savage would have done, just slap them off your head.
Yeah.
Well, we can talk about Relevant forever. I think we should talk a little bit of fishing, a little bit of hunting, have a little fun. Before we do that, I want to let our listeners know something and give Adam a shout out. So our intro song, Adam wrote, and I don't know what's the exact terminology, wrote, mastered, produced,
all of that, I guess.
Jammed on the guitar. So Adam's a part of a band. He travels all over the state.
Yeah,
we do gigs and stuff.
Mostly central Minnesota and such, but we do gigs. 200 Feet Away is the name of the band. So get to know the guys. They know I play music, and you're like, hey, we're gonna do this podcast. Would you want to, write the intro? And I'm like, sure, we can give it a go. And so
it's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, we met with the band, and I said, guys, we should do this thing. And my guitar player, he's like, he starts this lick, and it was, well, you guys will hear it and whatever. And then the drums come in. We're like, it was just like,
and there's like a rattle reel noise.
Yeah, and so we're like,
I'm like,
so
nailed it.
Yeah, I forgot about it's. Yeah, that's exactly right. So how cool is that, right? So we're going through this, and we're like, all right, what do we got to do? We actually kind of whiteboarded it in a certain way, like it's ice fishing, it's this and that and whatever. What are the elements of that? I was thinking of, if anybody's ever watched Mark Rober, he's this like YouTube, engineer guy. My son is way into him. And so we did this thing last year about this time, and built 3 builds and all this stuff. And he takes you through this journey on how to like do the thing. And so I was like bringing that in. I'm like, okay, ice fishing, what's the thing? And what do you got? Rattle reel. So I went and grabbed my clam rattle reel. No joke. No, I'm not trying to be convenient, but that's what I had. And I was like, tink, tink, tink,
it sounds perfect.
And whatever. And then he brings the slide in, and it was like, oh, it was awesome. So
turned out great. I mean, I think what I heard, the full story is like you guys wrote it, played the noise, Matt was dancing in the background. So that didn't make the cut because it's a audio.
It was
thing,
audio, yeah.
But Evans was dancing.
That's right,
so when the music video comes out,
he's a swimmer. He just got done with swimming.
So you just have that for right now, all right? We'll have that out on the public side at some point.
So when the music video comes out, you guys get to see Matt Evans break it down.
Oh,
gosh. Probably a good backup dancer, but no, super cool.
Thank you.
That, to me, that just like gives an added personal touch to this, like it's one thing to take some stock music, like anyone can do that, right?
Right.
But when Drew was like, Adam's going to write this piece, I'm like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
So appreciate you doing that. So
absolutely.
Do you do book gigs? So if somebody listening wanted to book a gig, like how do they?
Yeah, they can, I don't know, they can find me on Facebook or through you or, I'd give my cell phone or whatever, but they can get a hold of me, and we do gigs, and it's original music.
Yeah.
And so they can find us on Facebook, 200 Feet Away. It's 200 with the dash on top, like you would do a foot mark, and away. And so 200 Feet Away, Facebook, or you can find me, Adam Winkelman, on Facebook or whatever.
That's cool.
And it's been really cool. We just did a gig up at St. Cloud and Raleigh's, did a 4-hour gig Friday night. Original music.
Saw that.
It was pretty
bunch
cool.
of our friends were there.
Yeah, we did. We had a bunch of the ice fishing community is just unbelievable. The number of people that just showed up to support a fellow friend and member of the community was just awesome. I couldn't believe it. I was just humbled beyond belief. And so now we're in the recording studio right now. We're working on recording the music. It's kind of interesting because it was like, we have this really great product. Not to pat ourselves on the back, but I really like the product that we have, these songs. But okay, great. You have this great technology, but the community doesn't quite know it yet. So how do we get it to the community? We got to record it and get that stuff out to the community. So we're kind of taking that same formula and using it for 200 Feet Away. So
that's pretty cool, man. Good for you.
Thanks.
Yeah. And Matt's going fishing.
Been trying to.
Yeah. Been catching them.
Yeah.
Yeah. What have you been catching?
Crappies, bluegills. Doing a lot of fishing up by Osakis, but a bunch of my buddies and I from high school like to go up that way, and it's 45-minute drive for us. So that's the area. Alexandria. I have some other friends up there. I just haven't been able to get out on the chain up there or anything like that. But Osakis has been the lake I've been out on the majority of this year. Been catching a good amount of crappies out there. So
what are the conditions like out there right now?
I haven't been there for almost a month now. When we had that bad slush period, though, there was absolutely zero slush out there. That was the one lake we were actually happy to go on because we went and scoped out Sauk. That was a mess. And then when we found Osakis to go camp on, actually, that was the one that was when we did our big ice camping trip.
Did you do ice camping?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we were out there. We picked the coldest weekend of the year to do it, and that was miserable. But it was worth it. We ended up not staying the whole weekend. My buddy, who had to move his house because it turned into a lake on the inside, he's like, I need to move this because anywhere he stepped, it was leaking through his floor mats. And when he went to move it, the thing was so frozen to the ice. He's like, I don't want to have to put this thing down and have it refreeze again because it's going to be 20 below tonight. And so we decided to pack up at 11:30 at night, and we weren't off the lake until almost 2 o'clock in the morning. That was miserable.
Was that with Carter?
That was with Carter. That was with Colton.
Okay.
Tanner. Yep. That was.
What's
all
cool
of us.
is I got to give a shout out to Carter. So
Yeah.
Carter Calhoun, who is friends with Matthew, did Live at Raleigh's for 200 feet away when we did the thing. So he took all this footage and video and audio. It's just awesome putting it all together. And so Carter, if anybody's looking for somebody to do like video stuff
sure.
or audio stuff, weddings, parties, things like this, Carter's awesome. So you had him out there. Did you guys capture that then, or did you?
He didn't film as much as he wanted to because we wanted to do some more out on the ice content, but it was so cold that we didn't end up leaving the tents. And we got there at a pretty late time on Friday night, got set up, made dinner, stayed up pretty late fishing, went to bed. We're up early trying to get the morning bite. They were being somewhat finicky, but he didn't want to film in the dark.
Yeah.
And then when we got to the point where we were going to go outside, everyone was being just lazy and not wanting to go out. So we didn't capture it as much as we wanted to. We're trying to get one more in before the end of the year. I would love to do that because if we can get it done on the weekend, figuring out everybody's schedules because, it's like our 5 original friend group from high school that we try to do this, and we have a blast when we get out there. And it's just figuring out everyone's schedule is what we're trying to do. But
So fishing's fun, but it's kind of a bonus too. You're hanging out with your good buddies that you've been buddies for, I don't want to age you, decade.
Yeah, I mean, for these guys, it was, early years in middle school, high school is when I started becoming friends with us or with them. And then it's just we've stayed close ever since. No one's really moved far away or anything like that. The one buddy, I've been friends with him since daycare. I mean, that's awesome. That's almost 2 decades long. I mean, that one has been a good one. But yeah, the fishing is a bonus when I go fishing with those guys because I'm not a hardcore fisherman. It's casual for sure. And it's just, we do that as the extra, and then we're just all hanging out and having a lot of laughs and beers and making some good food out on the ice.
Yeah.
That's the best part.
Yeah, the ice camping thing is huge.
I was going to ask, I've never
now.
done it. Have you done it?
Oh yeah, it's becoming, and the thing of it is like the ice castle push, right?
Yeah.
The hard house.
Yeah.
When COVID hit, everyone went and bought those ice castles.
Yeah.
And they should, right?
Yeah.
It was deemed an essential activity. We could go ice fishing. We could go fishing, all kinds of stuff. So everyone flocked to the outdoors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think what people realize too is they don't want to now spend 20, 30, 40, 50 grand. And they're like, but that looks like fun. And they realize like in their hub house, like in a Clam X600 or a 400, whatever size you have and how much room you want. Well, I can camp in that. Like you said, you buy the floor mats, you buy a cot. You can go to like a Shields and get everything you need.
Yep.
A fish house, a cot, pillows, sleeping bag, something to cook and eat on, everything you need, right? And then we have our fishing gear. We have our auger, our Vexlar, things like that. Well, now you can go out there for a fraction amount of money and set up this camp and be extremely warm.
Yeah.
Like, you were out in extreme cold weather and you were toasty warm inside there going ice fishing.
Well, and what gets overlooked is, so we have my wife and I have a 8x16 Yeti, hard pull behind, whatever. It's a camper. We don't hardly ever get to use it for fishing like I had intended before, because if it isn't, you don't have enough ice, you have too much snow, or you have too much slush, or you have this or that or whatever. There's all these complications, yet alone the expense. You take a hub, that's it.
Yep.
There's a hub right now on, I'll mention this is like a community lake anyway, Briggs, where I live, and it's a clam. I don't know what number it is or whatever. That thing has not moved. Yeah. It's anchored down in the spot like it's a hard house. Yeah.
And guys, what they'll do is you don't even need to wait for, like, you have a snowmobile or an ATV or a snow machine or a snow dog, whatever. You load up all your gear and you go. So you don't need to worry about driving on the plowed road. You can get off the beaten path.
That's right.
I see guys take their snowmobiles, grab their fish trap, fill their fish trap with a hub house, all the gear, the heater, food, grill, everything you need, lights, and they rip way off the beaten path to some of these awesome fishing spots.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a Friday night. I'll see you on Sunday.
That's right. Yeah.
And I think it's awesome. I wish when I was in high school and college, I knew, granted, we didn't have houses.
We didn't have the technology.
But man, I look at like my son right now. I'm so excited for him as he's a freshman and he's going to get his learner's permit here next month. And once he can drive and do things with his, I'm like, you guys are going to have the time of your life.
Yeah, the thing is about it, and you touched on this about sunglasses, but I would say, and you have the same issue with hard houses as well to an extent, but guys and gals, be safe. I mean, you got to make sure your vents are open.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make sure. I mean, you're working
Carbon
with
monoxide detector.
Yeah, you're working with at a different level. You know, I mean, I got the heater on my Yeti, and it's like, okay, this thing's made for this.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're sitting in a hub house somewhere, and you got your heater running, and Mr. Heater's going or whatever, and it's like inside, it's not built to be an overnight kind of thing. Be safe. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and they say those heaters have blowers and they have the automatic shutoffs, but that may not always necessarily work. And that's why we had CO2 detectors in each hub. I set an alarm every 2 hours to wake up to make sure I wasn't dead.
See, when you're old like me, that's my bladder.
Yeah, that's your bladder. Yep.
Especially after 18 bush lights.
Exactly, 18 bush
right.
lights. I don't need an alarm, guys. I'll be up every hour. Don't worry.
So we had alarms that we did it the safe way. And
So what if if didn't wake up to the alarm? How would you know?
That was it then, I guess. That was the big one. Yeah, that was the thing, is like I set the alarm saying, all right, well, if it wakes me up, I'm alive still, but if I don't wake up, that was the big one. That was it for me. That was the end of the script of me.
But be safe.
Yeah,
For
that's good advice. And a lot of the hubs will have the vents and stuff. But yeah, you still carbon monoxide detector you can buy for $10.
Well, the thing is that you can have the vent, but if you don't open the damn thing up,
Yeah.
So I see this all the time. Like,
Or blow shut or something in the middle of the night.
whatever,
Right.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Crack a door. Most of them have the triangle style doors. If you crack that a little bit, keep the vents open. On the cold ones, you'll see the air coming out, but it's still not always the freshest air you have in there. So
Yeah. And I know, like in our hubs, like our insulated clam hub houses, you're going to want to crack the door.
That's right.
I mean, they stay so toasty warm. If I'm like camped in there, even with a regular buddy heater on, not even on high, you'll be surprised at how warm they get, how fast they get warm and retain their heat. So, you're going to want to crack it anyway. But no, that's good.
How much
good
fun
advice.
though, right?
Oh,
Like you
it's a
say, to
blast.
be able to just go and you can find the hole just tucked out in a corner in a bay someplace that you could never get to without a snowmobile and stay
You and your
until
buddies
Sunday.
are camping out, making the most of it, grilling some food, like you said. I like to eat.
You got
I
the
like to
frozen
cook.
kitchen book with you, so you
Oh
can just
I mean,
Yeah.
you can cook. Maybe keep your catch.
Yeah.
do
Some
some
lakes
catch
don't
and cook
allow
up
it, but you can do the catch and cook thing. And I've seen it so prevalent now on social media. YouTubers are just blowing it up,
yeah.
and for good cause.
Yep.
It's a lot of fun. I would encourage people to do it.
Absolutely.
It's a fraction of the price from buying the big 8x25 fish house that you need to hunker down in. And there's a type of cot. I think it's called like a disco bed.
I have one. The
And
bunk
it's
bed
a
setup.
bunk bed.
Mhm.
Oh, is that
Yeah,
right?
It works amazing.
you can put 2 of those in an X600 and sleep 4 grown men.
Yep.
No problem in there with space to do things and still fish, because it's basically a bunk bed cot.
Yep.
Very durable. It was what we had on display. For anyone that's listening, if you came to the St. Paul Ice Fishing Show, we had one on display in our clam booth, in the one that had the side open. That was a disco bed.
Yep.
Super slick.
That's $400 I've ever spent.
Oh yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah. And another thing too, not to get off topic from ice fishing, but a lot of our pro staff, like Keith Cavais, for example, you guys know Keith very well,
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yep.
He takes these insulated hub houses moose hunting and sets them up just like you would ice fishing. They're insulated. They're easier than a tent. They're more durable and rugged. They collapse into one piece. There's not all these poles and contraptions and this and that. And then he anchors them down. You can still use some earth anchors. And he sets them up with a heater when he moose hunts.
Very cool.
So there's so many uses for it.
I would figure these would work for summertime camping if someone wanted to go, wouldn't they?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, if it's insulated in the fact that maybe if you had like some sort of one of those space heaters that was worked for blowing cold air, or almost like a little AC unit, I feel it would keep the air in there better than a standard Coleman tent would.
Spot on.
Yeah.
So do you guys follow Barbecue Pitmasters? You know Big Mo?
I don't.
Big Mo Kaysen. So that's how I first got to know Big Mo. It was not through, and I'm a cooking freak, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I found Big Mo because he hit me up years ago. He's from, I believe he's from Iowa. And he's like, and I didn't know who he was. Mo, if you're listening, you're probably not, but if you are, sorry. I absolutely know who you are now. You're a stud. He was one of the best barbecue pit masters, one of the best barbecue competition, whatever the term is, in the country. And he hit us up and he's like, I want to use your insulated fish house while I'm doing all these cookouts. And I'm thinking, why would you want to do that? I mean, Mo's a pretty big guy. He's lost a bunch of weight, but he's still a big dude. I'm like, you're going to sweat. He goes, no, I'm going to cut a hole in the side and throw an air conditioner and blow forced air. So here he is in some of these extreme hot climates in the southern part of the States cooking. And on the inside of his thing, it's 65 degrees and comfortable when it's 95 outside. So you nailed it, Matt, that the insulation retains whatever temperature is in there. So if it's heat, it retains the heat and keeps you warm. But if it's cold air,
It does the same.
a lot of people are using them in the summertime and running air conditioners through them, and it's toasty, or not toasty. It's very cool and comfortable, even in cold conditions. So that was what opened our eyes. Was we had this very well-known cook, competitive barbecue guy, that was sending us pictures of his insulated clam hub house with his smokers outside, and he would go inside there to get out of the elements and be comfortable and cool.
I'm gonna go sleep at a lot of the boat landings this year.
There you go.
that is awesome, actually.
If
you can keep it cool throughout the night, that would be actually sweet.
Bug free.
Yeah.
Cool at night. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're protected in them.
Yeah.
I'm sure they can withstand the elements if it rained on you at least. But
yeah, I mean, we don't market them as a rain proof, but of course.
Yeah. It's not something you want to do
consistently. If it poured, you're not going to get wet.
Right.
It's going to get heavy and saturated, but you're not going to get wet.
Sweet.
Well, guys, we could talk
cool.
forever. We've been talking for, an hour and 15 minutes already, and probably should start thinking about wrapping it up. Otherwise, maybe we'll just camp here in a hub house.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a couple.
Yeah, there's a few in the back. I mean, I think we should chat a little more about anything else that makes you guys tick, anything else you want the listeners to know about. What do you guys got cooking the rest of the ice season? Do you want to tease anybody with anything coming the pipeline? Any of that, you can divulge as much as you want. I know, Matt, you're running to another show.
Yeah, we got one and two, not this weekend, but the following weekend down in Shakopee. We'll have a representation as well at the Northwest Sports Show. So Minnesota Deer and Turkey Classic and the Northwest Sports Show.
So they can come find Relevant at both of those?
Yep, you can find Relevant. We'll have the full setup booth at the Deer and Turkey Classic, and then our product will be being sold at Joe's Sporting Goods at the Northwest Sports Show, and then we'll have a display case with the product at the PMI booth at the Northwest Sports Show. So got those on the agenda. After that, it'll be a little bit of a break in shows until June. We'll be up at the Alexandria trap shooting event.
Your boat comes out.
My boat will be out. My boat will be out the second there is ice. That is there no longer ice. Yeah. That thing will be out very quickly. So,
what kind of boat do you have?
I have a Lund Adventure 1675. So that was I invested a little bit of money on the first boat, but it was worth it. It was a good deal. Bought it from one of our retailers up in Brainerd, that Power Lodge.
Yeah.
So they got me a good deal on it, and it's pert little 90 horse on it. It's got a Tarova Minn Kota on it, Humminbird Helix 7. I got the Garmin now that I can just put in the front of it and use for forward-facing sonar at the beginning of the year.
You're no longer fishing, you're hunting.
Exactly, yep. So, well, I mean, you got to make sure the hunter knows what they're doing. So that's the other aspect.
You got to be able to throw arrows straight.
You can lead a horse to water, right?
But can you get them to drink it?
Yeah, you'll be okay. Mm-hmm. There's always bluegills off the dock.
Yeah, exactly.
And I don't know. I mean, this is obviously ice fishing, juggernaut here at Clam, but people might not know the whole kind of journey with this started with turkey hunting. Mm-hmm. So you ask what I got coming. Turkey hunting's coming. I'm excited about it. I love turkey. I love being in the woods, in general. And
that's pretty good.
Yeah. I was only at a show 2 weeks ago where we were next to a call booth the whole weekend.
Sounds amazing.
The NWTF.
Yeah, it was the national convention. That's 3 straight days of listening to turkey calls in your ears.
Did you see Tom Glines?
I don't know if I did.
Yeah, I love Tommy.
Tom's a good dude.
Was he the president, right?
He is no longer, I don't think. I think he's retired out of that.
He is awesome.
He is top notch. Yeah.
He's from my hometown, Grand Rapids, and I played soccer with his kid.
That's what we had this
phenomenal guy.
We had this absolute aha moment, the two of us in, what the heck were we? We were in Ricori area or whatever. Anyways, Cold Spring or something. And it's at one of these events, he's like, you know Matt? And I'm like, do you know Matt? Whatever. And we're going through this whole bit. So, but yeah, it all started with turkey hunting actually, where we created a product for the concealment of optical lenses in the UV spectrum, which turkey and other animals can see. And so people can conceal themselves at next level. And so the turkey community has been really, really great and has embraced what we do. It's exact same formula, rinse, wash, repeat. It's like solve a problem, work with the community, do the thing, and they engage, whatever. And so, so I'm excited. I'm gonna be out on the water as well. Try to get down to the turkey show myself. I don't know if I'll be able to make it, but it's gonna be, late ice is pretty special. So
I'm with you.
I'm ready for some late ice. Get through February here, and then it'll be turkey season and back on the water.
Absolutely.
It'll be great.
Well, guys, I can't thank you enough. We got Adam and Matt from Relevant doing all kinds of stuff. If you haven't checked them out, this will be my last sales pitch for Relevant. You got to at least check them out. Check out their website, Relevant. It's RLVNT.life is the website. People always ask me that. They do .com and, .life. Check it out. Learn about the technology. And I would encourage you to come stop at their booth at one of the shows. When it gets to the ice fishing season, these guys are at all the shows. Ramsey, Blaine, St. Paul. I mean, all of them. You're at every one of them. Stop by, check them out, learn for yourself, and ask some of the other people that have them. I mean, that's what I always tell people. Like, use your circle of influence. Talk to your friends. You might have a buddy that has them, and say, what do you think? Which model do you use? Why? Why this? Why that? That's one of the fun things about this, the community, right?
Yep.
But can't thank you guys enough, man. Good luck. Best of luck with everything. I know we'll be in touch.
Yeah.
This was awesome. When we started this podcast and we were thinking about people to have on, I think we talked at the Ramsey show back in
the first
October, and I'm like,
Yep.
we're going to do a podcast together.
Yep.
We had one scheduled a couple weeks ago. We had nasty weather.
Yep.
We
made a good decision.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
we did.
I think we were texting from home.
Yeah.
That we were like,
before,
I'm glad we didn't do this.
That's right. Yeah.
And it worked out today. This was awesome. Thank you so much, guys. So again, Adam, Matt from Relevant, thanks for coming on. Another episode of the Ice Team podcast. Check it out. We'll have more stuff coming at you. I think Durham right now is filming one with a couple people. That should be entertaining. It's always entertaining with Durham. Good, bad, different, ugly, whatever it is. Otherwise, we'll catch these guys again. We'll do some fishing here. How's that sound?
Sounds awesome.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Adam, Matt, checking out from the Ice Team podcast. Thanks for tuning in.